hearing by the City of New Brunswick on its draft HOME-ARP, American Recovery Plan Allocation Plan. The city published notice of this plan and this hearing on December 4th, I believe, Sunday, December 4th, Home News Tribune. And the city looks to submit this draft plan to the Department of Housing and Urban Development in the late this year or early next year for HUD's approval and authorization to proceed. The HOME-ARP plan, project, funding, however you want to view the terminology behind it, the name of it, is somewhat based in the regular HOME program, which is a HUD program that at least the City of New Brunswick receives an annual allocation varying between $4-something to $500-something thousand per year. The HOME program is generally developed funded for the purposes of providing funds for the creation of affordable housing through new construction, rehabilitation, or tenant-based rental assistance. The HOME-ARP program is slightly different. It's very related. It has many of the same limits and tie-ins to the rest of the home system, but it was funded separately and distinctly from the regular home entitlement program through the American Recovery Plan. The City of New Brunswick was allocated just a hair over $1.9 million with these funds, and we are now in the process of doing the planning for they call it the allocation plan. In this case, somewhat distinct from the regular annual action plan process of CDBG and home. This allocation plan essentially gets amended onto a prior annual action plan through this process and then becomes part of that. The requirements of the American Recovery Plan require that this specific planning process be undertaken for these funds. So the city, as part of the allocation plan process, was required to and consulted with several organizations regarding all sorts of affordable housing and homelessness components. Page 2 of the plan has 15 separate entities. Some of them are, different departments at the county that meet certain criteria, but nonetheless have different roles and missions. And we've consulted with them for feedback on the program. As part of this program, we've done a data analysis for what our needs and gaps are in our affordable housing and homelessness system. There is a current inventory, if you've seen the plan, which is available on the city website, and at a few other locations like the city library and the New Brunswick Housing Authority. There is a list of inventory of existing properties, of existing beds and units available to the homeless population, and the count of the homeless population based on the 2022 point in time count survey. The gap analysis for what the gaps in those systems is to be determined at this point until final submission, as we are collecting the data from the consultations to see if there is if there's a larger or smaller gap than what is, what that you would come to as a number based on subtracting the current inventory versus the homeless population. Sometimes there are things that aren't adequately recorded that consultation can inform you of. In this case, we wait to hear from all of them. Further, we have some data from the CHAS, the Comprehensive Housing Affordability Strategy data, which is collected by HUD which runs an estimate on available units to persons at different varying levels of income and the gap there. The city has most of the plan is data collection information and certain types of people, breakdown of demographics, what caused homelessness for certain people in the population, et cetera, et cetera. And finally, the city intends to, at least in its draft plan and in its intended submission to the Department of Housing and Urban Development, allocate 1.9 million of its, not 1.902967 million dollar allocation toward the development of new affordable rental housing, and just the difference of what's left over 1.9 million as a administration and in planning overhead for the deployment of the funds. And that, I believe, is an adequate sort of 10,000 foot view of the plan. And I now open the hearing for comment and feedback from the public.
Yes, please. Charles Prattville, New Brunswick. I live on Sedan Street. Appreciate the opportunity to address you about this. I'll note that the draft plan was a little hard to read because of the watermarks.
Yeah, that I do apologize for that. I did not think that there was going to be such a, when I converted it to PDF, there was going to be such a, I don't know what you would call it. It's definitely some kind of error, but.
Yeah, not the normal watermark, but nevertheless, I appreciate your explanation and pleased to see the vast majority of the funds going to development of affordable rental housing. As I've told you before, we have a housing crisis and need to drastically change our ways and create more affordable housing in the city. Was just curious if you can provide any specifics on what types of projects or where. I know you said rental, affordable housing, but are there specific sites or plans?
We do have several projects in the pipeline right now, currently, searching for gap funding and what have you. With that said, until this plan is formally adopted, we would then have to take applications either on a our intention is on a rolling basis, so rather than have a notice of funding opportunity, just accepting projects, and then go from there. So at this point, we would not be allowed to predetermine any site for those uses.
Okay, and just to be clear, once the funding were to become available and the applications were to be accepted, who would be eligible? It'd be developers of a certain, planning to do something of a certain size or for a certain income level, or are there any?
Well, there are, the plan, not our plan specifically, but the HOME-ARP requirement requires that the funds be utilized for either or individually or a mixture of persons at 30% of area median incomes, 50% of area median income, homelessness, at risk of homeless, etc. Generally in that range is where we would need to have the units occupy those income spaces. I believe there might be some flexibility up to 60% of area median income, but generally it's that 30 to 50 range is what's being targeted in homelessness and people at risk of homelessness.
Got it. And so a project that has a portion of the units set aside as affordable would be eligible, or does it have to be all affordable?
No, it could be a mixed income development.
Got
it's
it.
not. It could be a wholly affordable development or mixed income development. There's no restriction on that.
Okay. Well, yeah, I guess my final point would just be that, homelessness is a really serious problem here, as I'm sure you know, and the I think the emphasis should be on helping those who have no home at all, and to the extent you can, prioritize that or make that, the most urgent need that gets met, I think would be wise. I've seen in my time in New Brunswick, what appears to be a steep increase in homelessness, and I do think that other cities are coming up with creative solutions to help get people into housing first and do right by them. And I think that the city should encourage developers, nonprofits, and others who want to be a part of that solution to apply and to make use of these federal funds once they're available. And I think that's all I had to share today.
Thank you, Mr. Crowder. Seeing that there are no other members of the public present, I will move to close the meeting, or the hearing rather.